A warm welcome to the 2024 Deep Tech Diplomacy Symposium. This event marks the global inaugural launch of the USA chapter of the G100 Mission Million Humanity, Technology, and Innovation Wing, a significant milestone in our collective journey towards fostering inclusive, deep tech advocacy, and diplomacy. The USA chapter has an expansive vision and a unique mission focused on harnessing the power of deep tech to catalyze transformative, inclusive, and sustainable change. The USA chapter's dedication to deep tech diplomacy aligns seamlessly with the missions of G100 Mission Million and the Women's Economic Forum. This symposium supports our resolute mission to drive advocacy, increase awareness, and build inclusive, sustainable deep tech ecosystems. As the chair of the USA chapter, I wish to express gratitude to our Global Wing Chair, Professor Dr. Dominique Delporte-Vermeeren, and to our founder and Global Chair, Dr. Harbin Aurora Ray, for their leadership and unwavering support. I would also like to acknowledge the remarkable team of regional USA chairs, which have been tasked to execute our charter, and you will have the privilege of meeting them today. I hope you will enjoy the valuable insights shared by our distinguished guest speakers, as they will be covering the multifaceted and complex domain of deep tech diplomacy. I hope this event will also help all of us recognize that our collective accomplishments stand as a testament to the impact we can all have at a global scale. Thank you for joining us. And now...
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, I'm extremely honored to kick off this symposium on deep tech diplomacy, building diverse and responsible ecosystems, so powerfully organized by the entire G100 Women Economic Forum USA chapter, under the leadership of Professor Dr. Ingrid Vasiliou-Feltes. I would like to address a heartfelt welcome to all guest speakers, and in particular to our 4 recently nominated regional USA chairs, Dr. Gabby Cora, Dr. Lana Feng, Heather Lee Flannery, and Denise Ruffner. My opening note is a call for advocacy and action, as we are in the rapid move from the 5th wave of innovation, the so-called digital wave, towards the 6th wave of innovation, the so-called deep tech science wave. The digital wave of innovation generated breakthroughs in digital and in social networks, in net zero blockchains, and in green and in climate technologies, resulting in the Industry 5.0. The 6th wave of deep tech science will be generating breakthroughs in artificial intelligence and in the Internet of Things, in biotech and in genomics, in nano and in energy tech, in cybernetics, advanced materials and robotics, in space exploration, and in quantum technology. The realm of deep tech is vast, and the journey to launching deep tech ventures to propel the Industry 6.0 presents unique challenges that set it apart from more straightforward tech or digital initiatives. Deep tech has the potential to augment and amplify human capabilities, to improve quality of life and planet, and to solve pressing global challenges such as healthcare, agriculture, and environmental sustainability. And as educators, as female scientists, as entrepreneurs, as board directors, and as female investors, we need to be prepared for this journey. We need to make fundamental efforts so that by the time these markets are at the top of their maturity, the entire pipeline of female talent is fully secured. With the rise of deep tech, we are witnessing a transformative shift in how we interact with technology and with each other. From personalized medicine, smart farming and sustainable energy and water solutions towards smart cities with real-time citizens' participation and interconnected digital ecosystems. The possibilities are vast. And the conversion of humanity and technology innovation is on track to shape the future significantly. However, this conversion also raises complex ethical, social, and economic questions. Issues like data privacy, algorithm biases, and job displacement due to automation and robotization. Issues like the rising gap between the ones with a digital identity and the ones without. The gap between the have and the have not to the devices to connect to this digital space. The ones who are educated and familiarized with new tech and the not educated. The ones who are cured for longevity and the ones that are none or lesser cured. And despite the unprecedented advancements in the digital wave, women across the world still continue to face unique barriers, preventing them from fully benefiting from inclusion. And this digital divide requires careful consideration and responsible governance, the right governance, the governance that ensures that technology benefits all members of society equitably and with full consideration of our planet. Moreover, as our technology becomes increasingly integrated in our daily lives, there is a growing need for digital literacy, ethical awareness, and cross-disciplinary collaboration. Cultivating a human-centered approach to innovation, one that prioritizes empathy, inclusivity, and sustainability, is essential to unleash its full potential for the betterment of humanity and planet. We would lose our rich human expressions when developments are in one language only, for one race or social layer only, for one geographic location only, or following only one view of human intelligence or view of the world. Therefore, amid the transformative shift, the concept of inclusive digital humanism 6.0 should emerge as a guiding light, prompting a recalibration of our relationships with technology in a more fair tech and gender equitable manner. Inclusive digital humanism 6.0 is a call to reassert our personal and social responsibility in the face of advancing technology. And every stakeholder should be involved. The government, the company boards, the NGOs, the venture capitalists, and all the responsible players in the innovation ecosystem. No single stakeholder can solve this challenge on their own. All stakeholders have a role to play and can do more to better measure, better understand, and address the barriers to fair digital human inclusion. And the G100 World Economic Forum, as well as the World Business Angel Investment Forum, we take this responsibility seriously. Since closing the gender gap in deep tech is not just a goal, it is a necessity for further sustainable and equitable economic growth. Kofi Annan once said, "Nobody is born a good Democrat or a good leader. It takes time and education." So allow me to rephrase it. Nobody is born a good, inclusive digital humanist. It takes time and education. So aligned with the deep tech agenda for the coming years, from Europe and the United States of America, we will work on the implementation of roadmaps to prepare more girls and women to enter, maintain, lead, and thrive in the deep tech sector. We will do so by leveraging deep tech knowledge and mentoring programs, including solid intellectual property rights and ethical tech governance. We will do so by co-creating more entrepreneurial support for prototyping and complex product testing, as well as support for women in deep tech deployments across the globe. And we will do so by increasing female investor education and by bridging female business angel networks to increase funding for deep tech startups led by women. And we are keen to duplicate our initiatives to other continents soon in collaboration with new global partners. And as we embark on this collective journey, let us heed the words of Mahatma Gandhi. The future depends on what we do in the present. So let us seize the moment with courage and with conviction, knowing that the destiny of future generations of women lies in our hands. Together, let us elevate our aspirations and amplify our impact. We have the power, smart power. We have hard power in our roles as corporate leaders and political leaders, as female scientists and medics, as lawyers, as philosophers, as ecologists, as psychologists, and in our role as female investors. Hard power to design and implement legal and economic frameworks and sanctions to change behavior towards inclusive, fair, deep tech. We have soft power in our roles as parents and as educators, as influencers, and as diplomats to frame the agenda of advocacy, to shape behavioral preferences, and to include cultural and social values. So let us use our smart power to shape the future and bend the arc of progress towards gender equity and towards a world that is worthy of our shared humanity. In conclusion, in the expansive realm of deep tech, we will transcend boundaries, shatter glass ceilings, and eliminate biases. And to unleash its boundless potential, we will champion a human-centric innovation ethos 6.0, one rooted in empathy, inclusivity, and the ethical advancement of human intelligence, society, and planet. Thank you. Now, I'm very happy to leave the floor to our esteemed next guests.
Thank you so much.
I'm delighted to take part in this important event and call to action for responsible deep tech aimed at the betterment of humanity. At UNESCO, we support initiatives like these that work towards fostering an ecosystem where technology can flourish, while steering its development to address global challenges and really control the downside risks. Our work actively strives to create policy frameworks that mitigate the negative impacts of new technologies, of course, including artificial intelligence, but without attempting to curb their progress. We must recognize, however, that we face many challenges within this rapid technological transformation. One of these persisting obstacles is the gender gap in the deep tech and AI industry. And as revealed in UNESCO 2024 Gender Report entitled Technology on Her Terms, women represent only 25% of employees in data and artificial intelligence today. The underrepresentation of women in the field leads to biased data sets and AI products, which exacerbate the gender discrimination women are already facing. This stems in part from the unequal access to technology worldwide. For instance, 130 million fewer women than men own a mobile phone, and 244 million fewer women have internet access globally. And moreover, still only 35% of STEM graduates are women, which reflects the reluctance of girls to undertake technological studies. There is a crucial need for education systems to become more inclusive, more effective, and less influenced by stereotypical gender norms. The business sector can also take action to reduce these gender gaps. There is a critical need for women CEOs and board members in the deep tech industry. and particularly considering when AI is the driving force of the emerging Web 3.0, and women need to be at the forefront of this deployment. Having more women fill decision-making roles in the deep tech sector is the best way to ensure that gender equality is respected in the conception, development, and deployment of technologies. We have not only to encourage women to strive for these positions, but also make sure that deep tech companies uphold fair and inclusive recruitment practices. And of course, there are many affirmative actions that governments and companies can bring. And female-led investment in emerging tech ventures are also key because it connects women investors with companies, and they can have a unique impact on the future of the technological landscape. And from a public policy perspective, concrete solutions exist. Gender equality is a central focus of the UNESCO recommendation on the ethics of AI, which was adopted by our member states, 193 countries, in 2021. It highlights various policy actions that countries should take to eliminate gender gaps in relation to AI. We have also set up a unique platform to implement this objective, the Women for Ethical AI Network. And this is supporting governments and companies' efforts to implement the recommendation, to look at what are the tools that help us fill this gap, to bring gender-friendly and inclusive AI systems, but also to ensure that we have the tools and the means to bring more women to the sector. We will continue this collaboration with our Business Council for Ethics of AI, because here we have the big companies, Microsoft and Telefonica being the co-chairs, that can help us advance in their own business models more women representation. And we have many other platforms and instruments and tools because the recommendation of UNESCO is really promoting a technological ecosystem that serves the interests of humanities and profits peoples of all regions. And we are happy to see that there is already a shift in the narrative around AI after the launch of generative AI. And many countries, the US, Europe, are already advancing governance frameworks. And this is in well alignment with our recommendation, which is really putting human rights and human dignity at the core, but it's also ensuring that we have a multi-stakeholder approach where we recognize that the conversation is not only technological, but also societal. We are sure that the technology can amplify our capacities. It can really deliver for our goals, but if we do it in an ethical way. Thank you.
It is my privilege to speak at the Deep Tech Diplomacy Symposium, and specifically about the impact female investors can play in the sector. I am an angel investor, an LP with numerous funds globally, and a GP of the World Business Angels Forum Angel Investment Fund. In addition, I am a member of the Asian Impact Leaders Network, which is supported by the Rockefeller Foundation. Much of our work is focused on systemic change, policy change, and importantly, how we should address challenges that we face in mobilizing capital to achieve impact. Deep tech companies are attracting significant investment across various sectors, signaling a robust interest in groundbreaking technologies. These enterprises are typically distinguished by their focus on solving complex problems, often leveraging artificial intelligence, biotechnology, blockchain, and more. As a matter of fact, according to Boston Consulting Group, deep tech share of venture capital investment has remarkably doubled over the past decade, now accounting for 20% of the total. The potential for revolutionary impact makes deep tech companies highly attractive to female investors looking for substantial returns as well as societal impact. For example, the urgency of addressing climate change has catapulted renewable energy and sustainability-focused deep tech companies into the spotlight. Substantial funds raised in the sector underscores the investor confidence in technologies that promise a greener future. This is only one example. There are so many opportunities within AI and machine learning, quantum computing, and privacy-enhancing technologies, to name a few more. Why else should female investors look closely at deep tech? As mentioned, we're drawn to companies that provide both financial returns and significant societal impacts, such as advancements in health, wellness, or sustainability. Funds are important, but founders really benefit from smart finance, meaning female investors willing to leverage their existing networks to assist with commercialization, potential partnerships, market entry strategies, and scaling can help assure the viability of a venture. Furthermore, startups can benefit from an advisory board comprised of industry experts, successful entrepreneurs, and academics. Female investors can lend credibility and provide valuable insights in this capacity. One other organization I support as a strategic advisor is to 2022 Female Angels. Our mission is to diversify the early stage investment landscape in MENA by identifying and encouraging more female investors who have an appetite for the region. To all women who currently are and who will become investors, I encourage you to allocate a portion of your funds to deep tech. The current wave of fundraising activity is not just a testament to the potential of deep tech, but also a signal to female investors that the market is ripe for groundbreaking solutions. With the right mix of visionary and engaged investors, deep tech companies can not only secure the necessary funding, but also pave the way for a future where technology can help solve some of the world's most complex problems. Thank you.
It is such a privilege to speak at the Symposium for Deep Tech Diplomacy and highlight the critical role of women in deep tech investments and the need to encourage more women to become deep tech founders. Our vision for a global women investors in deep tech consortium and impact fund is to redefine the landscape of deep tech investments for women. Our mission transcends traditional boundaries, guided by a commitment to responsible, profound tech innovation aligned to the UN SDG goals and UN's vision for 2050. We understand the transformative power of deep tech in society and its potential to address global challenges. However, we also recognise the importance of responsible investment, prioritising sustainability, equity, and inclusivity. That's why our consortium is dedicated to promoting responsible deep tech investment, not only that drives financial returns, but creates positive social and environmental impact, aligned with the G100 Mission Million Women Economic Agenda. As part of our commitment, we've developed proprietary investment instruments personalised for women in deep tech founders and funders. These instruments are designed to navigate the high-risk, dynamic and evolving nature of deep tech ecosystem, offering flexibility and adaptability to meet stakeholders' unique needs. For women deep tech investors, our investment instruments provide access to tailored funding solutions that support founders' growth trajectory, whether seed funding, venture capital, angel investment, community financing, or revenue-based financing. We offer personalised support to help women entrepreneurs thrive in the competitive deep tech landscape. For investors, our instruments provide a range of options to diversify their portfolios and maximise impact. From equity to convertible notes, our personalised approach ensures that investors can align their financial goals with their values while contributing to advancing profound deep tech innovation. But our vision extends beyond mere transactions. It's about building a community of empowered women who drive change and shape the future of tech and humanity. Whether you're a founder, researcher, enterprise mentor, or investor, we invite strategic partners from all sectors to join us. Join us in this mission, collaborating to create a more sustainable, inclusive, and equitable deep tech ecosystem. Let's harness the power of deep tech to address the world's most pressing challenges. Together, let's forge a path towards a future where women are not just participants, but leaders in the deep tech revolution. Join us as we embark on this journey to empower women investors and entrepreneurs and create a lasting impact that resonates beyond our lifetime. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much, Ingrid, for your invitation. My name is Stéphanie Bretonnière, and I'm the founder and CEO of WeImpact.World. It's a pleasure to be with you today to talk about advancing women leadership in deep tech. WeImpact.World supports and empowers Article 8 and 9 active funds, visionary governments, boards, and executive leaders to build a new economy. As an operating partner, we leverage leadership with cutting-edge technologies such as AI, blockchain, Web3, XR, big data, satellite technologies, quantum computing, and IoT, all applied to sustainability transformation and innovative business model such as sharing economy, circular economy, orange economy, and impact tokenization. Our mission is to humbly contribute to the creation of a disruptive, sustainable, resilient, agile, profitable, and inclusive economy based on trust and evidence-based positive impact. We empower visionary and courageous leaders and investors with next-gen business practices, upskilling programs, strategic advisory, trend and risk foresight, innovation and technology scouting, impact tokenization, and evidence-based transparency solution, fostering cross-pollination and collective intelligence to mitigate risk while thriving in the era of exponential change and uncertainty. For that, and considering the climate change, the new geopolitics, social paradigm, and global economic order shift, we believe in the critical need of strengthening the collaboration between the rising and disruptive emerging economies and the Western world. To summarize, we work towards enhancing reputation, profit, valuation, and longevity by cultivating engagement, trust, and ROI square, return on investment, and return on impact. Before starting addressing the topics of the day, I have compiled for you some statistics emphasizing why all recipes for businesses and economies are no longer relevant. And this is where women and deep tech will play a critical role. 95% of CEOs declare their organization don't have the right capabilities to close the capability chasm. 40% CEOs think their business won't be economically and sustainably viable in less than a decade. And the situation is even worse for SMEs. This drops to just 5 years. According to Morgan Stanley, more than 57% of investors globally say their interest in sustainable investing has increased in the last 2 years. 93% of corporate stakeholders, so leaders, employees, providers, anyone working for a company needs to be upskilled on digital technology and sustainability to contribute to the business future. Disruption is up to 33% year on year due to AI impact, innovation, and sustainability transformation and regulation. And last but not least, 42% of C-suite leaders say the skills shortage is one of the top 3 challenges that will hold back their organization or economy ability to respond to change. All those numbers come from report from PwC, McKinsey, BCG, Morgan Stanley. So the situation and the era of today is emphasizing the complete paradigm shift we've entered since COVID pandemic. And the role now of women is even stronger. Advancing women leadership in deep tech is critical. Women remain vastly underrepresented in leadership role in these cutting-edge fields. According to a 2022 report by Atomico, only 1.3% of founders in European deep tech companies are women. 1.3%. In Europe, women are not part of the equation in deep tech companies. How come? The situation is a bit better in the US. Women make up just 28% of the workforce in emerging technologies like blockchain and AI. This lack of gender diversity at the top is holding back innovation and economic growth. As Melinda Gates said, if you are not bringing women along, you are not tapping into one of the world's greatest reservoir of productivity, intelligence, and talent. Some key barriers preventing more women from becoming CEOs and board members in deep tech include the lack of female role models and mentors, the unconscious bias in hiring and funding decisions, the difficulty re-entering the workforce after career breaks such as maternity, and the exclusion of influential networks. So to dismantle this barrier, we need, new strategies like investing in STEAM education for girls from an early age, implementing bias training and diverse hiring practices, offering re-entry programs and on-ramping support, and building strong women networks and leadership development programs. Companies should formalize all these options and incentivize senior leaders to mentor diverse talent. They must as well adopt inclusive hiring practices and provide career advancement pathways that consider the unique challenges women face. And so many companies are making it right. Salesforce, for example, has a target of 50% representation of women in leadership by 2026. NASDAQ now requires disclosures on board diversity from listed companies. So by taking concrete action to advance women's leadership, deep tech can unleash its full innovative potential. Let's talk now about women on boards. Having more women on boards is not just about equality. It's about better decision-making and innovation. Having gender diversity in the boardroom is absolutely critical for deep tech companies to succeed. Diverse boards bring diverse perspectives, which is essential as companies navigate the transition to new technological era. And studies show that companies with more women on their boards tend to be more profitable, better governed, and make smarter decisions. In 2022, women held just 60% on board seats at large global tech companies. To increase that number, companies must be intentional. This includes setting diversity targets, seeking qualified female candidates. And I will tell you a secret, gentlemen. There are plenty of qualified female candidates. And companies as well have to ensure to build a board culture that bring inclusivity and are really supportive towards women. So there is a strong business case. This is the one that Indra Nooyi, former CEO of PepsiCo, addressed. The data is overwhelming. Having women on boards and in leadership position is not just the right thing to do. It's a business imperative. Listen, research done by McKinsey found that companies in the top quartile for gender diversity on executive teams were 25% more likely to outperform on profitability. Diverse boards bring a wider range of perspectives, skills, and experiences that lead to a more comprehensive risk assessment and better decision making. Some companies are paving the way. NVIDIA, for example, recently achieved gender parity on its boards of directors. Snap Inc. boards is now majority female, and Microsoft has set a goal for its board to be over 30% diverse by 2025. You can do better, Microsoft. So by prioritizing, women's representation in the boardroom, deep tech companies will be better positioned to shape our technological future in an inclusive and responsible way. Let's end, this talk addressing the role of women investors. We need to connect the dots between investments, finance, business, leadership, technology, and sustainability. Women investors are playing a pivotal role in shaping the future of these pioneering technologies. Despite the venture capital industry being historically male-dominated, a growing number of women are taking the lead as investors, fund managers, and limited partners. Their influence and capital are crucial for identifying and funding the next generation of deep tech entrepreneurs and companies that will solve humanity's greatest challenges. This is the point. We need to connect these new technologies to purpose and impact. And so for that, we need to break down silos and connect the dots between the business, the economy, sustainability, and technology. This is critical to make sure we can enhance and scale the impact of these technologies. Women investors play a unique role in shaping the future. But to support women investors, we must cultivate network and platforms. And promoting stories of successful women investors can inspire others, showcasing their achievements and evidence-based impact of their investment can motivate more women to become active participants in the deep tech revolution. As Anu Dugal, founding partner at Female Founder Fund, said, women see around corners that male investors don't. A study done by the Harvard Business Review found that venture capital firms that hire female partners went on to invest in more companies with better returns. This is what I said previously. It's all about ROI square, return on investments, and return on impact. In 2021, US-based female founders received just 2% of venture capital funding. This represents a massive missed opportunity. Some funds are leading by example. I can give you some names like Raise, Women in VC, and Plumelaine Investments. With more capital directed by women, the deep tech revolution can be more equitable and its world-changing innovation more inclusive. In conclusion, advancing women's leadership in deep tech is essential for driving innovation, sustainability, and economic growth. By dismantling barriers, promoting mentorship, increasing female representation on board and top executive position, and supporting women investors, we can build a more inclusive and dynamic tech industry, making a difference and making a huge impact on humanity's greatest challenges. At We Impact the World, we believe that women impact the world. And this is the reason why we are committed to empowering leaders and communities to embrace technologies and innovation for sustainable growth. Let's bridge the gap purposefully between emerging economies and the Western world, creating a global network of impact makers, driving positive social, environmental, and economic change. Thank you for your time. and let's work together to scale the impact and emphasize how women and deep tech can make a big difference. Thank you very much.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and esteemed colleagues. I'm Joy Case, founder of AI for All, Inc. As a United Nations Peace Ambassador and devoted entrepreneur in deep tech, it is my honor to address this esteemed gathering on a subject of critical importance: the role of women investors in the sphere of deep tech diplomacy. In an era defined by rapid technological advancements, deep tech stands as a beacon of potential, driving transformative change across all sectors of our global society. From artificial intelligence to biotech and beyond, these innovations hold the promise not just for economic growth, but for creating sustainable solutions to some of our most pressing global challenges. The stakes in deep tech diplomacy are high due to the swift advancement of AI, which brings significant opportunities and considerable challenges. Responsible adoption of AI, supported by strong infrastructure and thorough evaluation protocols, is essential for maximizing its benefits while mitigating potential risks. This requires active governance strategies, international collaboration, established safety standards, and meticulous regulatory oversight to manage the complex arena of advanced AI effectively. However, the landscape of deep tech, like many sectors, suffers from a glaring underrepresentation of women, particularly in leadership and investment roles. This disparity not only limits the scope of innovation, but also the varied perspectives that are crucial for comprehensive and inclusive technological development. As women investors, our involvement in deep tech presents a unique opportunity to influence this dynamic field, ensuring that these technologies are leveraged for global good, promoting peace and fostering cooperation across borders. Our investments can be seen as acts of diplomacy, building bridges where once there were barriers, and introducing new voices to the conversation around future technologies. Our role extends beyond just funding. It is about advocacy, mentorship, and leadership. It is about creating a platform for women in tech to thrive and lead. By investing in companies that prioritize diversity, support ethical technological development, and seek to solve humanitarian issues, we can set a new standard for how business and progress are achieved. Our engagement in deep tech as women and as peace builders sends a powerful message to the world. It shows that we are committed to not only advancing technology, but also to ensuring these advancements benefit all of humanity, aligning closely with the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. As the world grapples with the implications of AI and automation, potentially transitioning us towards a post-labor economy where human work is significantly augmented or replaced by machines, deep tech diplomacy becomes essential. This diplomacy involves global governance and ethical standards, equitable distribution of technology, security and stability, sustainable and inclusive growth, and collaborative innovation, encouraging partnerships between governments, private sectors, and academia to drive innovation while respecting each stakeholder's needs and contributions. Let's acknowledge the crucial role of leadership, embodying these qualities traditionally associated with the feminine, such as inclusivity, empathy, and collaborative negotiation. In the realm of deep tech diplomacy, as we navigate the complex intersections of emerging tech like AI and quantum computing with the pressing needs of global governance, these qualities are more vital than ever. Such leaders advocate for tech policies that consider the impacts on all segments of the population, ensuring that advancements like AI do not perpetuate bias, but promote equality and understanding. This approach to ethics and technology goes beyond compliance. It integrates compassion and a deep sense of responsibility towards future generations. As a United Nations Peace Ambassador, my role involves harnessing these qualities to guide deep tech diplomacy towards paths that are not only advancing technological innovation, but securing peaceful, ethical, and inclusive futures. The ambassadorship is a platform to advocate for international cooperation, where we work tirelessly to ensure that every country, every community can benefit from the dividends of technological progress. Together, we must encourage and support leaders, irrespective of gender, who embody these essential qualities, ensuring that they are at the forefront of shaping the future of our global society. It is not just about creating space at the table, but also about redefining who can lead and how they can lead in this technologically driven age. So, to my fellow investors, I urge you, recognize the profound impact your decisions have on the world. Invest in diversity, invest in solutions that bring us together, not tear us apart, and invest in a future where technology is a pivotal force for peace. To policymakers and leaders, I appeal to your support in creating environments that foster the inclusion of women in all aspects of technology. From grassroots initiatives to global platforms, let us work together to break down the barriers and unlock the full potential of inclusive innovation. The role of women investors in deep tech is not just about funding new tech, but about shaping the future of our world. Let us be catalysts for change, champions of innovation, and builders of peace. Thank you so much for your attention and your commitment to this vital cause.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ingrid. Thank you very much for this fabulous introduction. And today I'm in my capacity as the UN ambassador also for women empowerment. I find myself in line with my previous colleague who was speaking about women in tech and women empowerment. So today actually we want to touch on a couple of topics that we need to bring into the table, especially that in recent years there has been a considerable amount of attention driven towards sustainability and sustainable digital transformation and innovation. And the reason we all know is that sustainable concerns are becoming of great significance for both governments and policymakers in planning their strategies and policies towards SDGs, with the ultimate goal of satisfying the national economy's needs for natural resources without compromising the needs of future generations, which is actually in line with the UN 2030 Sustainability Plan. Now, today we are standing at a very critical point where we see the convergence of three dimensions, which are namely deep tech, sustainability, and diplomacy. And this convergence actually holds great potential to tackle the most pressing challenges facing humanity today. And this is all in the quest of reshaping the future of our planet. So let me start off by highlighting how we can harness the power of emerging technologies and deep tech, namely in the fields of AI, quantum computing, biotech, and climate tech, and where we find those main areas that involve adopting eco-friendly practices and finding very creative and efficient solutions to address the most pressing environmental challenges, including climate change, pollution, and carbon emission. But although we just spoke about the bright side of deep tech, it's worth mentioning that such technologies can raise multiple challenges that we are all aware of, including AI ethics, data privacy, data security, and bias. And this really calls for the immediate enforcement of laws and regulations by policymakers to reach what we call responsible AI. And this is also only done through AI governance. Moreover, if we want to speak about how deep tech can be a useful, powerful tool in diplomacy, we see that the adoption of big data analytics and AI-driven insights can have a very positive impact on diplomatic decision-making. And this actually enables more informative decisions and more effective communications between nations. So we can see here that diplomacy plays a pivotal role in this collaboration, in where we can see knowledge exchange among nations, businesses, and organizations. But the question is, how is this going to happen, or how can we attain this? Actually, we need to be very keen on fostering partnerships and agreements that prioritize sustainability and leverage deep tech solutions for positive global change. Let me give you, for instance, the international agreements on climate action that demonstrate the power of diplomatic efforts in addressing pressing environmental challenge issues. And these agreements not only set targets for net zero carbon emission, but also encourage innovation and investment in sustainable technologies. So in simple words, and to sum up, it's very essential for policymakers, technologists, and diplomats to work together collaboratively to leverage the potential of innovation, technology, prioritizing environmental challenges, and fostering global cooperation to pave the way for a more sustainable world and for the good of humanity. So thank you very much, and back to you, Dr. Ingrid.
Thank you so much.
Hello, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in this world. Thanks a lot, Ingrid, for inviting me. I'm really super excited and also honored being here with you today with all those brilliant minds. I have prepared a little presentation for you just to also show you how I think about deep tech diplomacy and what the facts are behind from the studies I've seen. I found actually a pretty good one from UBS about the funding gap, a full report on this very topic, which I would love to share with you. So if you give me a second, I will just pull it up. And let's see that the technique is working. And let's start. So I created this for you to show the interconnection we have between women and really technology, and in particular deep tech. So you see it's kind of image which represents also our, I would say, our new world and the starting of a new era. So my name is Martha Buckenfeld. I'm an advisor and also an investor. I'm a founder and the CEO of the Metaverse. The sign you see next to me is the Metaverse. And what I'm doing there is that I'm really living my passion, or following my passion, you can say. So one is education. So I've created with Ingrid together a platform which is called Me, Myself, and Deep Tech, where we explore deep tech topics in great depth for all verticals. I really enjoy this, and we share this very freely. It's on LinkedIn. Another part is Fast Future Fundamentals, where we look to the future. It's also an educational part, and I do a lot of master classes for healthcare, financial services, and I love to interact with executives on this section. Then I also have a company together with my nephew. It's called Creare, so it's an AI agency. We create there also for clients. We transform their business, and I advise clients. And you cannot disconnect all of this. All of this is connected, and it's all a new technology. So I'm really trying to help clients to go from where they are today to the next level, to the next era. My experiences in financial services, I have over 20 years with companies like UBS and AXA as an executive, and also as supervisory board member of BlackRock and UniCredit. And I've been super fortunate because I've been always part of executives teams driving innovation and also living my passion there. But one observation stuck with me very early, 20 years ago, when I started my career in Hong Kong. I thought, okay, Hong Kong, the big world, everything is very different. But what was not very different, that on the executive level, where I was fortunate to start, I was the only woman. And not only that, but also before, I already had the feeling that we need to support women because there are not enough of us in really positions where we can drive and where we can change. And there's no reason why this not should be the case. So if we look at technology, I'm completely fascinated by the ways how everything is coming together now. And a lot of my clients also ask me, why now? And obviously one is because we have more digitization, but second, what I find even more amazing is the convergence of technology is much bigger than anything we have seen before. So we have mobile connected devices, we have digital wallets, we have blockchain, we have living therapies, we have robotics, but we can't see this in isolation. All of this is connected through the neural networks of artificial intelligence. It is very beautiful in the sense it's mirroring our mind where everything is connected. I'm also very proud and honored having been nominated as a United Nations Peace Ambassadors for the work I'm doing in this intersection of technology and humanity. And my fellow Ingrid and myself and a number of other amazing women are now also developing programs for women to become United Nations Peace Ambassador and to get deeper into deep tech. Let's look at some numbers that come from the UBS report. Female entrepreneurs globally receive less funding than their male counterparts. So this is a fact. We have less than 30% of deep tech leadership roles are held by women. And we have a much bigger problem because the percentage of women in tech leadership roles has fallen to 28%. This is the very latest report of DDI 2023 Global Leadership Forecast. Why does it even matter? And we know that our numbers and facts always matter. Also in my life, I have been a CFO, I've been CEO, but I love numbers and facts to start with. So there's an amazing opportunity, 2.5 to 5 trillion, according to UBS, if women and men were to participate equally as entrepreneurs. Global GDP could rise by 3 to 6%, boosting the world economy by US dollar 2.5 to 5 trillion. So basically, there's not much we supposedly have to do to have higher GDP, just making men and women equal as entrepreneurs. As easy as it sounds. We also have the fact that women generate twice as much value, and to a lot of you and my fellows it's probably known, but some don't even know that on average women generate 78% of revenue per dollar invested compared with 31 cents for the men. So just remember, 2 times more value generation. But on the other hand, it's totally not understandable that we have less funding and lower valuation for women startups. So you see here that the money raised is around 50 million compared to 226, and the valuation achieved is 65.5 million to 400.4 million. We also have 7% to 2% for female-only startups funding, and we see that the number is much higher. Equally would be 14, 10, 13, and 10% for male and female funding in the different stages. So there is a big discrepancy between female and male startups. And only 2% investments for women-led startups. So that is a number certainly which is very surprising, given also the high potential we have seen before. How many women are really entrepreneurs? So we have around 86% of all venture capital funded business have even no women in management positions. And that is an observation we see also strongly reflected on board positions, on CEO positions. And nevertheless, we have also 2% in Europe of VC capital going to all female teams. So there is a huge bias in VCs, how they fund females. And we have less than 1%, 1 GBP of VC's investment in the UK. All female founders receive less than £1. All male founder teams, £89, and mixed gender teams, 10. So male alone achieve much higher funding, despite the fact that women generate twice as revenues. So 1 in 3 entrepreneurs are running established business as a woman. 16% than 20%, if you compare those two numbers, women in the UK funded more than twice as many companies. So there are a lot of women having more investments also in as an entrepreneur, but they don't get better funding. And women represent 1 in 4 high growth entrepreneurs globally. So quite massive numbers. So it's not that there are not enough women, and it's not that there are not enough qualified women. In the US, we have 49% of 2021's new entrepreneurs were women, up from 28% in 2019. So we have a lot of female entrepreneurs where we can see great opportunities to invest in. And I know today in this very virtual room, there are plenty of them. So we have plenty of women. We can generate twice as much revenues, and we have a multi-trillion company or multi-trillion opportunity if we can have an equal treatment. Nevertheless, again, a stat, a very recent from December 2023, less than a tenth of UK deep tech companies are founded solely by women. That's from the Royal Academy of Engineering's Enterprise Hub. Now, talking and tackling the funding gap, that is, as we have seen, it's not a moral obligation only, but it's also a super great opportunity for investors and a potential boost for the entire economy. Every effort should be made to eliminate the bias that exists. And there are many, many reasons and research which prove the bias. I myself have also been on the jury at UBS for female award accelerators, which I think is a great initiative, but not enough to change the statistics we have seen here. So how can we really level this playing field? We as individual women like Ingrid, myself, Dominic, Jane, we can do a lot, and we should do a lot. We can maneuver our best to process in women's favor, but it's much, much more powerful and impactful if the entrepreneurial ecosystem played its part in narrowing the gap. So we need to create an entire ecosystem, in my view, which consists of 3 components. One is humanity. So ethics, human values play a lot. And what is our role in this new world? Another one is innovation. Women are very, very strong in innovation, a skill which is more than ever required in the new era. And deep tech. And these come all together in one ecosystem with different stakeholders, with academia, with the government, with ourselves, with our male allies, and there are also plenty of them. My mentors were all male, believe it or not, because obviously finance is very male-oriented, and I had a lot of female support, and I've been always pushing very hard to also increase the female representation on my management team. But not only that, I could demonstrate that if you have the right mindset and the right supports for women, you can also increase in the whole department. So I have had one of the strongest female representation in my department, very, very high qualified female. We have enough of them. We just need to find the right way to support them and also to create the environment so that they can thrive. So please join us. Let's create an entrepreneurial, inclusive and diverse ecosystem for all. Thanks a lot, Ingrid, for having me. It is really always a great pleasure being with you, and being here is really for me a great honor. And I wish that we could really create this kind of ecosystem. I know we can, and all together we will be able to do that. Thank you.
Initiatives and community events. Great, you want to share your screen? Wonderful. With a background as a serial entrepreneur in the tech sector and over a decade of experience in the culture industry, Christina brings a wealth of knowledge from the private sector to her role. Her entrepreneurial journey includes spearheading the pioneering venture blockchain.art, where she served as co-founder and CEO, driving innovation in the cultural landscape. She co-founded prominent European ventures, securing substantial investment from venture capitalists and family offices, solidifying their status as premier brands in their respective domains. We're honored to have you join us. We're welcoming your remarks, and we're looking forward to learning from your insights.
Fantastic. Ingrid, thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak. Marta, thanks so much for showing again the numbers. So the speaker before me, really, as an entrepreneur, as a female entrepreneur, it always hits really painfully to see the numbers and how slowly they develop. So thanks again to bringing that into the conversation. It's real, and it's unfortunately not really getting better. So anyway, yes, thanks for sort of rundown of my biography. I'm the CEO of the Tech Diplomacy Network. We are here nestled in the Silicon Valley. And I'll take you a little bit through the journey of tech diplomacy and its relevance. So my topic of today is on tech diplomacy in the Silicon Valley. So part of the Deep Tech Diplomacy Symposium. So we were founded as a network about 1.5 years ago, so in spring 2023. And it was out of the necessity to bring tech diplomats that are located and based in the Silicon Valley together and give them a platform for coordination, cooperation, and basically to a platform where everyone can meet and discuss. So, and our premise for our work is that soon all diplomacy will be tech diplomacy. So why tech diplomacy? Ingrid has been very active, obviously, to also educate everyone on tech diplomacy and the different parts of it. So my stick is basically the Silicon Valley part of it. And Silicon Valley had always a number of consulates. So consulate services, mostly citizen services, and obviously foreign direct investment, business relationships. So, and why did tech diplomacy come about? So in about 2017, the first tech diplomat was sent to the Silicon Valley. It was part of the Danish consulary services. The first really official, that's when the name came about, the first tech diplomat was sent. And why was that? So, and this is Katharina Höhne. Dr. Katharina Höhne developed this, this chart is due to new actors, which are obviously tech companies and huge tech companies, new venues, new places, basically, of decision-making that were for the diplomatic corps outside the capital cities, which was new. New forms of representation. So it was new again, new actors that, and these new forms of representation, so they were representing new interests and new topics. So tech, cyber, quantum, these are new topics that go far beyond the implications for people and citizens that are only located basically in the Silicon Valley or in the US. So tech and diplomats got a new relevance in sort of how to discuss not only as a phenomenon, but also the implications of these new elements. And they had massive implications for states and the citizens of these states. So this is how the Danish government has sent and really appointed the first tech diplomat in 2017. Another point to point out is that normally the head of a foreign mission would be obviously located, would be the ambassador sitting in the capital city. He or she would be the highest point of command of any mission. And they would discuss normally the more critical questions. And here in the case of tech diplomats, new fields were given over to tech diplomats. And these were not only foreign direct investments. I think everyone in this group today knows pictures of people that have taken sort of Disney-like tours through the Silicon Valley, sort of inspirational tours where people would go, entrepreneurs would go to Google, would go to the different tech offices, take photos, and then come back, sort of, and so this was very inspiring, but hardly ever the critical topics, as in is data stored, how do you deal with human digital rights, were discussed. So this is now a topic that was handed over to these tech diplomats to discuss not only foreign direct investment, please open up, which is very important, obviously, for different governments around the world to ensure new investment into the countries, to ensure new spots of work. But it was also now the center of attention is basically the critical questions, and that is what brought about the relevance and the existence of tech diplomacy in this world. And another point, so the head of the American mission of the Foreign Service, Ambassador Nate Fick, he basically announced that the US is going to deploy tech diplomats all around the world, not only obviously to sort of the key and tech hubs, but they want to ensure that they send out tech diplomats around the world and have these tech diplomats educated in the field of tech. So next, so the tech industry has emerged as a new actor in international relations. Technological and digital transformation has impacted our values, institutions, and norms, and the geopolitical landscape. So in Silicon Valley, tech diplomacy has emerged as a nascent field for practitioners representing governments, civil society, and global tech companies. So another field, so this is why it's relevant. So the practice came first. So the governments were not in the position to define this position first and then send them. But the practice emerged first that they needed to have a conversation with tech companies. And again, on the value side, on the critical questions, and they didn't just normally what would happen, heads of governments would talk, ministers would talk, so government to government conversations would be discussing critical issues like that. But now it's really also the diplomats engaging in conversations with foreign companies on these critical topics. Trying to get to the next slide. Here we go. So as you see, so major tech companies such as Alibaba, Alphabet, Amazon, Apple, Meta, Microsoft are geopolitical actors and have more resources than many of the nation states. And that's, we know, so they have a bigger budget to actually play a role, and they do play a role. So even in the post-pandemic cutbacks, commercial tech companies are altering and the successes and who fails in conflict, for example, in the war in the Ukraine and beyond. So tech companies have major decision-making potential when it comes to conflicts, unless it is regulated by government. But obviously, you know about this is the Starlink conversation, whether Starlink will be made available for Ukraine or not. This was one major topic which created a lot of conversation around the topic. So, and this is obviously a very critical point and will continue to have major impacts around the world. Right. So we're talking here about obviously the frontier technologies, big data, AI, robotics, blockchain, biotech. So all the big conversations, and still, despite sort of the investment sort of cool off of the last 1.5 years in the Silicon Valley, still companies in the Silicon Valley are on the forefront of technological innovation. And that's why we see an increase in tech diplomats that are being deployed to the Silicon Valley. And the conversation in government, because you're all citizens of your own countries, it has a huge relevance for you, for every one of us, and for every citizen, that citizen duties are done carefully and with sort of the foresight of what's going to happen next. So these technologies have a huge impact on our life and going to have further impacts. So the governments are gearing up to educate their foreign service in these topics to really have an eye-level conversation. What we see in the Silicon Valley, unfortunately, is that, for example, none of the African countries are represented. That is a huge disadvantage for these countries. Just it's a lack of resources that obviously doesn't allow many countries to have a representation here. So what means just consular services, offices, representatives that are in the conversation. And many of the so-called, it's a debatable term, global South countries do not have representation, obviously, in the Silicon Valley. So they do obviously have representation in Washington, sort of the embassy style, but not in the Silicon Valley. And so that is a big conversation here, how to offer that seat at the table. Next one. So why tech diplomacy now? So since 2010, we see a perception shift in governments, but also in citizens. So I arrived in the Silicon Valley in 2016, and I remember, and I'm a German citizen, so when in 2016 GDPR rules were announced by the European government, so the Silicon Valley received me with, oh my God, you got the last train to the Silicon Valley. Europe is taking a too hard of a regulation approach, and good for you, you made it. So, but however, sort of the doom days didn't come about us and didn't come about Europe, but GDPR rules pretty much were implemented then later in the US. But so the perception shift came regarding the influence and power of tech companies. So then basically it was clear that the insane and the accumulation of wealth and decision-making power of tech companies were seen through the course of history and sort of in conflicts as well. And the question were asked, so when entrepreneurs come into the field, it's with the mission for technology for good. We want to change lives for the better. We want to give people access, and so on and so on. But then the question came about, is it for real? Because of the conflicts that started on, is really technology for good? The techlash, what we talk about is the privacy and security concerns, basically data breaches, resale of data without citizens and users participating in it, without the option to opt out, and suspicion towards digital change. So basically, who is profiting from it? It's as we're seeing right now in the US, it's Wall Street is doing very well, but it doesn't trickle down to the citizens. It doesn't trickle down. People are feeling the impact of the high rates. And so it's this suspicions, like they're doing well, we're doing bad, we were promised that we're going to do better. And the social and political impact of tech that made basically the change in perception towards tech, and the demand to ask harder questions. And this is also obviously when governments engaged, and also their representatives, the ambassadors and consulates, who were then tasked to get into the field and really be present and ask questions. So just that you see it, I want to share with you the practice here in the Silicon Valley. What is going on? So what are the different services are actually doing on the ground. Obviously, there's a lot of one-on-one conversation going on. So tech ambassadors or tech consulates, tech envoys are tasked to go into the field, meet the tech companies and share their values, share what the country is doing, how they are managing, what they expect from tech companies. But there's also several initiatives where tech diplomats and tech envoys actually work together. So just last week ended the Cyber and Tech Retreat. And it's a huge gathering, basically of 30 ambassadors, tech envoys here in the Silicon Valley. And the conversation is cybersecurity, foreign policy, and technology. And it is literally just ended last week. And it's by initiation of the Danish and the Australian government. And it has been around since 19. And it's really the sharing of knowledge and of practice in cyber. It's a huge topic, as you know, because it's not only anymore targeting, obviously, the big companies, and then when it comes, and then it trickles down to the user sort of as passwords, shared, sold passwords, but it comes down to medium companies, small companies, and it's a huge impact to the GDP, because people, like really companies, are losing sometimes their whole access to their data and so on. So a lot has to be done, and businesses have to be educated on all different levels. Who's participating? It's senior government officials, cyber and tech ambassadors, major tech companies. And here the question is really, again, around the societal responsibility of tech companies and the regulation gaps. It is gaining more traction, and more tech companies are actually joining that conversation. Then the Freedom Online Coalition, it's around since 2011. So please look it up. I think there's a lot to be learned from it. So it's really, the topic is the internet freedom and human rights online, raise awareness of the rising threat of digital authoritarianism on human rights. And so it's also, again, the bullying of women, for example. Yeah, it's because I'm coming back to Marta. It's all these different levels, and so how they work, it's they agree on common statements to influence norms on the international level. So they come out with common suggestions for regulation. So it has 38 members. The Tech Diplomacy Playground Initiative, it's around since 21, and sort of and this is one of the co-founders of the Tech Diplomacy Network is actually initiated that. And this is the recommendations for the best practices in tech diplomacy. It's a monthly topic meeting. It is really an active engagement with private sector and the diplomats, and it's active, and it's going and it's growing. So, and then last is basically the Tech Diplomacy Network, so my network, and we provide conceptual clarity. As I said, as it was a practice, everyone is now sort of jumping on it out of the necessity, but it's not, since it wasn't first designed and developed and then everyone started to practice it, it was just the other way around. So the need was there, governments engaged in it, and now we're trying to provide clarity because different governments engage in a different way in tech diplomacy. And so the American approach significantly is different from the European approach, is significantly different from the Chinese approach, for example. So we are trying to navigate in there, create a community, as I said, basically providing best guidance in that field, and bring ambassadors and tech envoys together to discuss different topics. So we had a big retreat last year on AI and AI governance, which was very key at that moment. We are now working on a publication, and we facilitate collaboration, and we do also courses. So Dr. Ingrid was actually part of our course last year in June. It is sort of a breakdown of what tech diplomacy is and how it's now being done. But again, it's part of a, it's work in progress, quite honestly. It's work in progress because now we see a huge shift towards protectionism in the international trade, US-China relationships. So tech diplomacy, as we said, all diplomacy will be tech diplomacy. As you see it, it basically concerns all tech companies. And so we will see where we are with tech diplomacy and the definition of it in a couple of years. But this is what we are doing. And this is our website, the LinkedIn, and the newspaper newsletter. We provide a newsletter monthly on everything tech diplomacy in the world. So we are not only focusing on the Silicon Valley, but really internationally. And as Donald Reagan said about the fall of the Soviet Union, the ultimate determinant of the struggle that's now going on in the world will be not bombs and rockets, but it will be a test of wills and ideas. And so as the trade conflict between China and the US is being talked about as a new Cold War that we are apparently actively in, so we will see how our tests, how the test of wills and ideas where it will take us in a couple of years from now. And we expect diplomacy and taking a big part in that conversation. Thank you very much for having me. And yeah, looking forward to hearing more.
Thank you so much for your detailed description of the important work that's being done. And I hope that our chapter can amplify and augment the wonderful work that your team is doing as well. Thank you so much. And this concludes our symposium.
It's a great pleasure that I'm allowed here to speak on this great event and to introduce a little bit the Diplomatic World Institute and what we are doing. We were founded in 2019 and we started right into the pandemic. And this was a difficult time for everybody. We are a spin-off of the Diplomatic World magazine. So this gave us a little bit of head start because we, of course, had a great network because the magazine 4 times a year with 20,000 copies going to all European Parliament members and to European Commission, to all embassies in the area, to the Belgian government and so on. And of course, all agencies, family offices, and above all, we also increase our global distribution with very specific business clubs. And yeah, so the coverage is developing quite well, not to forget the digital issue that is also, of course, giving access, worldwide access to our content. The Institute, we founded because our ambition it is to be a little bit more present, not only as a magazine, but also to take active part in improving the planet, helping to foster peace. What I also need to mention here, especially in this environment, is that we are also conducting a course in digital diplomacy. Is designed on a postgraduate level for the moment, and we will launch in the 4th quarter, and we will kick off with it the Diplomatic World Campus. Another noteworthy thing is that, of course, we always are looking for collaborators. We can't do things alone. We need to share ideas. We need to join forces in order to really create substantial and impactful projects. Another thing that I want to mention, especially here in this circle, is our board, the jury board for the Holistic World Innovation Trophy, because this is mostly women. We have 7 board members and 6 of them are women, and it's great women. Ingrid Vasiliou-Feltes is one of them. Thank you for not only that what you are contributing, all others are contributing a lot to make this really great award. But noteworthy is it's all women. It was not planned like that, but it came out like that. And this shows me how relevant by now, today already women have become in technology, something that a few years back nobody would have considered to happen, but now it is really happening, and it is good that way. It was, as I said, a great honor to speak here, and yes, please reach out when you think there is opportunity to collaborate, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
It is humbling and a great honor to accept this position and to be part of this incredibly inspiring initiative. What I'd like to focus on today in my remarks is a sense of urgency to address a widening chasm of change. The rate of change of technological acceleration is only increasing over the last 30, 40 years and is continuing to accelerate. Meanwhile, our systems of governance, our institutions, our bureaucracies are relatively static or comparatively fixed in their ability to accommodate change, to adjust to dynamism. The implications, as my esteemed co-panelists have pointed out, is that absent urgent, focused, well-organized change, we have the risk of amplifying currently and long-standing challenges facing women and girls around the world. The call to deep tech diplomacy is one of deep interdisciplinary capability, bringing together many different areas of specialization, but it isn't simply committees, it's not only working groups. We actually need new institutions. We need new institutions that can be made dynamic, that can have a kind of governance that is, from the beginning, incredibly inclusive and representative, not only of appointed or elected officials, but at a population scale. Fortunately, today we have new governance technologies that can facilitate a level of engagement and participation that was logistically impossible only a few short years ago. This potential has yet to be tapped, and those of us in this G100 have a tremendous opportunity to reach into our geographies, deeply within our field, and reach ultimately millions and millions of women, and include them in systems of empowerment that are literal and not metaphoric. This rate of change and this pace that we need to deal with means that we have to come up with new systems that can simulate, aid in accelerated decision-making processes, implement new kinds of systemic interventions much more quickly than our current institutions are able to accommodate. This is one of the reasons why we must have a new model that coincides with the existing slower moving institutions that we have carefully built over generations and that must be carefully protected. Buckminster Fuller, the renowned scientist, said, "You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete." This new model can be accidental, created by a convergence of dozens of exponential technologies, all reaching our society at effectively the same moment, or it can be deliberate, inclusive, and bring populations to the table in the design and governance, in the ethical risk management, in the monitoring and evaluation, and in the continuous dynamic optimization of new systems for not only women and girls, but society at large. I'd like to evoke the idea of wisdom. As women, one of our historical anthropological roles in society and one of our archetypes is the wise woman, While all of our archetypes, as we move through the lifespan of a woman, sometimes leave us in vulnerable places, sometimes leave us dishonored, sometimes in places in women's lives, we have very little power historically, and systems need to be created to establish that. But the archetype of the wise woman is with us today. It is part of our collective consciousness. It is part of who we are. And it spans outside our vocations and our professional callings. It is part of our spirit that imbues what it means to be a woman, that place of honor, those hard-won lessons. The natural language definition of wisdom is knowledge of what is true or right, coupled with just judgment as to action, foresight, discernment, and insight. Does this not sound like precisely where we need to head for the notion of what truly ethical AI would mean? How do we imbue our new institutions with wisdom? How do we bring, as women in different parts of our life, the role of the wise women to all women and girls? How do we welcome them and bring them forward? A few important ideas that I think we need to keep in mind is that in this realm of deep tech diplomacy, it tends to be frightening and intimidating and isolating to women who don't come from a technical background, who incorrectly perceive that they have nothing to give and no role to play. Overcoming that barrier and breaking through the notion that all of us have important contributions to make across all of the roles we play, not only our professional vocations. Through our role as wise women and through the enacting of wisdom as individual people and the creation of institutions that affect wisdom, we have a tremendous contribution to make. Through this affecting of wisdom, we can transform how exponential technologies are accessed and adopted by underserved communities, and especially by women and girls. We can affect how data is collected and stored, which is the heart of all of the impact of all of the exponential technologies that we focus upon. And we can affect how it is used for truly ethical AI and a socially, economically just data economy and AI economy and deep tech future economy. All of this involves creating a data ecosystem we can trust, and ultimately self-sovereignty for all people, and importantly for women and girls, self-sovereignty of identity, of data about us, about all of us, of AI that can support our needs absent any conflict of interest, and of our own digital twins, very intimate, very powerful, very capable of aiding and integrating and many, many different categories of resources and services that can help to bridge gaps and optimize the well-being of women, girls, families, and communities all over the world. It is my great honor to serve in the leadership capacity in the Northeast region of the United States, an incredible corridor of amazing cities, and I am just absolutely thrilled to be a part of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Ingrid and everyone. I'm just so honored to join you. And I want to bring it into the person, that is really trying to contribute to the world. And all these accolades are just like a tiny bit of our whole selves, right? As we're trying to figure out how to best approach this future that is coming in such an accelerated form at this time. So, as we can contribute to this canvas of wisdom, where one person can really scale up and become all, and that all in one. So that's a little bit of what I want to address today, how we can learn from the past, but by having our feet well on the ground today and an eye in the future. I think that, keeping that in mind is going to be really helpful. So I want to share a little bit of how all of this has impacted upon my own life and how my life has kind of impacted upon that purpose as well, I became a medical doctor at the age of 24 and pretty much built my career as I was building my family. So I went to, from using pagers while being on call, followed by cell phones that could only have one function. Electronic medical records did not even exist. When I started training, recording or transcribing notes came along while I was practicing, and then having more sophisticated databases, incorporating Dr. Google at the time, where people would come into our practices and say, I read this online, and now followed by the effects of social media, mass media, and now the latest in tech and AI, where people could come into the doctor's office and just say, I just checked through AI, and AI just told me that you need to do this for my own case. So all of these very interesting things that we've learned from the past, I think are important for us to figure out as a foundation of where we stand today and how it is that we want to move into the future. So we still have this shared experience as women with a ton of leadership challenges. Just while becoming an alumna from Harvard last year, we were really pretty much less than 25% of women graduating from the business side. And this is an aggregated number from all kinds of business degrees, which was very eye-opening and very surprising to me. I was expecting a really high percentage. And the important things about this impact upon the way that we speak up or don't speak up, the way in which we participate or we don't participate, and the way in which we really conduct business and have different opportunities as well. So for example, in regards to investments, one of the interesting things that I also learned today was that for a woman business owner who accepts funding from male investors, they may actually lose their certification as a woman business owner, which may be really helpful for them to get more bids if the management of their enterprise becomes more male dominated than through themselves. And I was not aware of this, for example. And it is interesting because I think many women are not aware of some of these things either. In regards to inclusion and diversity, you know how it's always important for us to figure out this nature as well as the nurture part. I think we have a great opportunity of bringing in all of that diverse wisdom into play. And I think we're in a unique position to be able to do this as we advocate for one another in this collaborative way. In regards to deep tech, there's so much to do. And I do believe that because we are so underrepresented in finding these solutions, it is imperative for us to find a seat on the board. And so every single opportunity that we have in terms of trying to be present and participate in that joint solution finding option is of essence for us as we continue to innovate and look at the world with new eyes and build that technology for the future, thinking really about yesterday, today, and tomorrow to make sure that whatever it is that we bring into the table is sustainable over time. And in my case, as well as many others, and I can see this is what is happening around the table in this amazing symposium, is to really live with purpose, with an eye in helping humanity and the future. So the opportunities really lie there for us to be collaborative, working in partnerships, associating, creating alliances, building relationships, establishing really a cooperative, heart or spirit in everything that we do so that we can optimize that group effort and teamwork. And as Dr. Ingrid just mentioned, my motto is to think, say, and do good. So everything that I really try to bring into life is encompassed by that. So thank you so much for the opportunity to contribute. And I'm just thrilled and feel really empowered about making this a better place for all of us for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ingrid, for such a great introduction. I wanted to kind of go before my talk so that it gives the audience a kind of a context of my remarks. Really being honored to be regional chair for this really worthy cause. So I want to get started by talking about humanity. And I want to start with kind of my background. So I'm from a family of physicians, and my parents, my mom was an OBGYN, my dad was an oncologist. So they always wanted me to kind of grow up to be a physician. But then, being kind of the young self, I was always like, I wanted to go to graduate school. I wanted to go into life sciences and develop new drugs so I could save patients at scale rather than one at a time being a physician. So that kind of really shaped my path forward. So when we kind of talk about the world, talk about humanity, right? Really, I want to kind of bring it to the stats that are kind of astounding. Last year in 2023, 10 million people died of cancer worldwide. So that amounts to over 20,000 patient deaths out of cancer every day. So that's really kind of give you the stats on how important that what we do in life sciences in terms of innovation, in terms of bringing life-saving drugs to market. So that's really kind of think about the journey, why I do this. So unfortunately, even giving, millions of patients die because not just cancer, right? Cardiovascular diseases, chronological diseases. So it takes 10 years and $2.6 billion to bring a new medicine to market. So if because of the really complex process, right? If you think about drug discovery, right, finding actually new drugs through screening of compounds to animal testing. And once you get approval from regulatory, say, okay, you can put the drug into a human body, then you start clinical trials. And then followed by approval by a regulatory body, could be FDA, could be NICE and EMA Europe, then you start to commercialize this drug, right? Because if you don't commercialize it, patient won't have access to this. So this is every single step is really critical of this entire process. So part of the reason is really that this high cost and the slowness on bringing new medicine to market is because of the lack of data automation. Why? A lot of our audience came from tech, right? So adoption of new technology, new innovation is very natural. But in healthcare and life sciences, one of the hurdle for automating data and getting insights is the fact that 80% of the data we work with is we call it unstructured, meaning they're not nicely laid out in a table. They're mostly documents. They're mostly even free text columns in these tabular data set. That's where the pearls are. So the industry very much relying on human experts like myself to kind of manually curating that data, which is not only time consuming and it's error prone. And more importantly, when you're trying to get insights out of different data silos, and it becomes impossible. So therefore leaving many mission critical questions unanswered. So going on to kind of technology, we already seeing technology, AI, particularly generative AI, is making transformative change in kind of this whole process. So I've never been more excited about technology, and I can give you some examples of how this is working in the field, right? We're seeing actually return on investment of deploying these cutting edge technology. So you've heard of generative AI, GPT, large language models, ad nauseum, right? Because it's like you're probably hiding under a rock if you have not heard about this. So most people don't know that generative AI was actually very early on before ChatGPT was using drug discovery, right? We've heard AlphaFold 3 now can actually allow scientists to develop new medicine and understanding the molecule protein-protein interaction, giving that kind of entire biological map, right? So generative AI used in feasibility of clinical trial, is this going to work before you even dose the first patient? And then data showing that it could increase this development cycle, can increase the approval by 1 to 2 years.
Remember the stat I just gave you, right? Even 1 month, we can save millions of lives, let alone you can basically bring a drug to market 1 to 2 years faster, right? And of course, the design, a better design of clinical trials can also accelerate this whole 7 out of 10 years is spent on clinical trials. We can accelerate it by 30%. So these are really kind of really astounding stats, right? So this is what it matters is that actually these innovations, not just that, is actually translating into saving patient lives, right? Really kind of benefiting humanity at scale. So that's the first thing I want to talk about. And second thing I want to talk about is access, right? Access to healthcare, access to new medicine innovation, and access to clinical trials. So you may not know that diversity and equality in clinical trials has been a big push for the FDA and the EMA. So why is that? So data has shown that only 5% of the patients have access to clinical trials. Think about it, 5%, right? So it has not only like we left the majority of the patient out of this clinical trial, clinical development kind of arena. And more importantly, the trials that we gone through phase 1, 2, 3 and getting approval do not represent the general patient population. So that's why the FDA and EMA are pushing for phase 4 studies, right? So basically, once you get approval, you still have to run a general study to include all patients. Why is that important? Because if you left certain, for example, racial background or certain economic background is you're not, because we all digest drugs differently. So you're going to see very different, not only efficacy, right? Is this drug going to work in, let's say, I'm Asian population? And secondly, what's type of side effects? That's going to be different from kind of that 5% that we have been targeting for clinical trials. And another aspect really kind of loops into this technology aspect is the, can we somehow bring in equality and easy access to the clinical trial process? Hence, this concept of decentralized trials, right? Because traditionally, clinical trials have been run by these high-level, large academic centers, which tend to kind of clustered around the US geographically. And accessing, believe it or not, being like transporting to these medical centers, being able to actually follow your clinical trial protocol to get the medicine is a huge challenge. So therefore, a central theme of decentralized trials is, can we actually do some of the testing at patients' home? And can we leverage like drugstores like, Walgreens or CVS, so that, patients can have easy access to these facilities so they can get their follow-up, they can get their treatment as part of the clinical trial. So I'm really, really kind of excited about what is going on in terms of in the life sciences industry. And then decentralized trials, mostly we're using technology, right? So very excited about the technology impact on sort of the central theme that can we save lives, saving more lives by bringing new innovation, new technology, and new medicine to the to patients at large. So that's really kind of my conversation. I'm really, really excited and honored to be part of this worthy cause and be a regional chair to really bring change to society as a whole. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Denise Ruffner, and my background is in biology and quantum computing, and I've worked a lot with different women and diverse groups in technology and automation. And I think that I start from the place that we've all learned that diverse groups lead to more innovation and creativity and have better productivity. So this is something, when I look around me, I'm always looking for diverse teams because I think those teams will be very successful. My background has been leading a group called Women in Quantum and morphing that group into a group called Diversity in Quantum. And there's several things that I've found that make people or help make people successful in their careers. And the first one is mentorship. I think the second thing that's very important to me is to have a sponsor. I think the third thing that all of us need to think about is kindness and gratitude. Advocating for other people and helping them when you can is also very important. And this is part of my be kind to people mantra. I think that women are very creative and they can very tactfully and diplomatically help create a team, help people feel good about being on the team, and help organize the team. And how can we together reach our goals? And I think this shows leadership. Thank you very much.